Welcome everyone to our class on how to talk about habits in English. So first, let's talk about starting a new habit. So why don't you share a habit that you have started recently or that you would like to start? So put it in the comments and we'll see the vocabulary that you use and the grammar as well. So you can say perhaps because we are just days into the new year, 2026, you might say, my New Year's resolution is to go to the gym 3 times per week. So notice here, I put in bold the word resolution. Resolution. This is a term that we use to represent a goal, but a goal that you make in the new year. So you only use this term generally in the middle of December until maybe the end of January, where you're talking about resolutions, your goals for the new year. So only use this at this time of year. Okay, so what's your resolution? Do you have one? And notice how I said 3 times per week. In written English, you will see just an X to represent times. But notice how I pronounce it. You pronounce it as times with the S on it, 3 times per week. So that's the same as saying 3 days per week, 3 times per week. So now I'll say this fast and you can listen to my pronunciation. My New Year's resolution is to go to the gym 3 times per week. So what about you? What's your New Year's resolution? Share that in the comments. How about this? Remember, outside of the new year, you would just use the word goal. My goal. My goal is to only have sweets once per week. Once per week. Now, I could say 1 time per week, but you can also use ordinal numbers, mainly with once or twice. Once per week, twice per week, 3 times per week, 4 times per week, 5 times per week. So once, twice, per week, per week, per week. My goal is to only, so you want to limit, to only have sweets. Sweets represents anything that is high in sugar. Cookies, cakes, muffins, chocolate, candy, all of those are in the category of sweets. My goal is to only have sweets once per week. Now notice the goal is possessive. My goal. My goal. If you're talking about your family, you might say our goal or my family's goal. Or if you're talking about someone else, you would say my cousin's goal, my coworker's goal. So notice it's possessive. Let's keep going. How about this? I'm slowly building a habit of exercising after work. I'm slowly building a habit. So notice I put in bold the word build because the verb that you use with a habit is commonly build to represent that you start, but then you continue until it's a part of your routine. Once it's a part of your routine and you're consistently doing it, then you can just say, I have a habit, or I always exercise after work. But if you're building a habit, it means at this point, you're not doing it consistently yet because it's new. I'm slowly building a habit of is a preposition. That's why you have your verb in ing, of exercising after work. So Ariel said, my goal is to only have 1 cup of coffee a day. Excellent goal, Ariel. My goal is to speak English more. Well, of course, great goal. My goal is to always participate in your show. Well, thank you so much. I love that goal. Marta said, I'm slowly building a habit of exercising after work. Well, that's what I said, but great job. Feel free to try something different. My New Year's resolution is to continue studying English. That's amazing. I'm so glad. All right, let's go. Let's go, everyone. My goal is to save up for stuff? Sure, stuff is pretty vague. You probably want to be more specific to make it sound more advanced. Okay. I have already built a habit of learning English every day. Exactly. I love how you put that as a completed action. I have already built a habit. So now, because it's already built, you can just say, I learn English every day. So once the habit is built, you can use the present simple because the present simple is used for habits. And you can use an adverb of frequency like I always, I usually, or I never eat sweets after dinner, for example. And thank you so much, Jorge, for supporting the channel. I greatly appreciate that. Okay, let's keep going. How about this? It's better to ease into a habit than go all in. If you go all in, it means you do the maximum effort or the maximum goal from day one. So I want to start running. On day one, I run for 10 miles or 10 kilometers on day one. Okay. If I want to ease into the habit, I start slowly and then I add more day by day. So if my goal is to run 10 kilometers, then on day one, I walk 1 kilometer. On day 5, I run 1 kilometer, and et cetera, until I eventually run for 10 kilometers. So that would be ease into it. So it's better to ease into a habit than go all in. What do you think? Do you agree with this or do you disagree with this? It probably depends on the habit that you're trying to build, the habit you're trying to build. Okay. Let's keep going. I'm making sleep a priority from now on. So if someone asks you about your goals or your New Year's resolutions, you don't have to use the word goal or resolution. You can use other vocabulary, such as here I have in bold, to make something a priority. So your verb is make. It's conjugated in the present continuous. I'm making. My something is sleep. So sleep represents the amount I sleep and the quality of my sleep. I'm making sleep a priority, a priority. I'm making English a priority. I'm making learning English a priority. So if you use a verb, it would be in the ing form. And from now on, it means starting today. Starting today, I'm making sleep a priority. Starting today, I'm making learning English with JForrest English a priority. And hopefully you say that. Okay. I'm making exercising a priority from now on. You would either use the ing verb or you would just say exercise. I'm making exercise or I'm making exercising a priority from now on. Wonderful. This is great. I love this. I'm making my health a priority. Very nice. I love that. My health, a noun. Awesome. Let's keep going. And before we do, put yes, yes, yes. If you're enjoying this lesson, like this lesson because it's an easy way that you can support your channel and say thank you for all the free content. And also make sure you subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And let's keep going because I also have this free speaking guide for you if you are making your English a priority in 2026. And if your goal is to become fluent, if your New Year's resolution is to improve your English, then you can get started with this free speaking guide. You can download it for free from my website. Now, if you truly are serious about your English and improving your fluency, then you should absolutely join the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where you will get the training, guidance, and support that you need to reach your goals, and you will become my personal student. So you can go to the link in the description or go to my website to join. And thank you so much, Ariel, for supporting the channel. All right, let's keep going, everyone. How about breaking a bad habit. So we have the verb break, which of course has different meanings. In this context, when you break a bad habit, it means you stop, you end the bad habit. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I greatly appreciate that. So that's the verb that you can use to mean end or stop a bad habit. So you might say, I'm trying to break my habit. Now, what type of habit? So here I'm giving the information before the word habit. I'm trying to break my late night scrolling habit. So I could certainly just say, I'm trying to break my scrolling habit. So that means your habit of scrolling. But like this woman is doing, it looks like it's late at night. She isn't sleeping. She's not making sleep a priority. She's on her phone. So maybe this is a bad habit that she needs to break, which means end or stop. I'm trying to break my late night scrolling habit. Now, maybe you can say, my goal is to break, my resolution is to break my late night scrolling habit. So think of all the vocabulary that you're learning and how you can use it in different sentence structures. I'm trying to break my late night scrolling habit. Maybe that's a habit you need to break as well. How about this? Scrolling is a mindless habit for me. So notice I'm starting with the verb in ing. This is a gerund sentence, scrolling. So this is the action. Scrolling is a mindless habit. If we describe something as a mindless habit, this sounds negative. Okay, mindless habit. It means it's something you do without thinking, but not in a positive way. So you just pick up your phone because you're bored, or you pick up your phone because it's an addiction. You don't actually have something specific to look at on your phone. You just do it unconsciously because you have a habit, but it's a negative habit. Okay. So you can use the word mindless to represent, just imagine like you're kind of like a zombie when you do it. You're not really consciously thinking, you're just mindlessly scrolling on your phone. So here you can use it as an adjective, or you can also use it as an adverb like I just did. She's mindlessly scrolling on her phone. Okay. Biting my nails is a mindless habit for me. Yeah. So when you're watching TV, you don't even know you're doing it. And then all of a sudden your partner or your family member goes like this and says, stop biting your nails. And you didn't even consciously know you were biting your nails because it's a mindless habit. It's just a pattern that you do, but it's negative. So we only use mindless habit for negative habits. Okay, let's keep going. As scrolling is one of my bad habits, I must break. Just spelling is incorrect. I must break that. Well, that's great that you recognize it. Okay, how about this one? Last week, I completely cut out sugar and it's been tough. So what does this mean? Oh, I like this one. This is a good one. Playing with my hair is a mindless habit I have. Yeah, so you might be, again, you're in a meeting at work, and men, you probably don't do this very often, but women, you might notice we often touch our hair, we go like this, but often it's a mindless habit. I don't say to myself, I want to touch my hair. It just happens automatically, but it's a negative thing. Very nice example. I like that. Okay. Last week, I completely cut out sugar and it's been tough. What does this mean? If you cut out and I added completely, it means zero sugar. So now I do not consume any sugar. Okay. So you go from having your regular diet and then you go to zero. So this is the example of I didn't ease into it. I didn't go from 10 tablespoons to 9 to 8 to 7 and then eventually to 0. I went from 10 to 0. I cut out sugar and it's been tough. Tough is another word, of course, for difficult. Last week, I completely cut back sugar. So you wouldn't use completely because completely means entirely, but cut back just means reduce. So you would say, last week, I cut back on sugar and it's been so hard. Okay, great example though. But I'm glad you use that because let's clarify. You might say, I don't think I can cut out sugar. So remember, cut out means eliminate, remove entirely. So you have 0 sugar. I don't think I can cut out sugar, but I'm trying to cut down. I'm trying to cut back. Now, if you include the noun, which would be it, because I've already said sugar, sugar represents it, you must use the preposition on. So I'm trying to cut down on sugar. I'm trying to cut back on scrolling, for example. So cut down, back means reduce. Cut out means eliminate. So they're not the same meaning. How about this? I fell back into eating sweets during the holidays. Ooh, I'm sure this describes most people. I fell back into. So I fell back, that would be literally, but if you fall back into something, it means you return to something you previously did, but that something is negative. So we only use this in negative things. I wouldn't say I fell back into learning English. I fell back into exercising 3 times a week because those are positive things. I fell back into making sleep a priority. No, because those are positive. So you only use to fall back into. So the verb is fall, but this is the past simple because it's in the past. I fell back into. I returned to a negative habit. I fell back into eating. Into is a preposition, so you need your verb in ing. I fell back into eating sweets during the holidays. So during the holidays, I started a negative habit again. I broke the habit, but then I returned to the habit. I fell back into smoking. Exactly. We only use this with negatives. I fell back into over drinking coffee during the holidays. Great job because you added over, which means more than you should. Over drinking more than you should. I fell back into eating junk food during the holidays. Excellent example. I keep falling back into bad habits. Absolutely. You can just make a more general statement. And I keep means you do it again and again. So you make some progress. Oh, wow, that's great. I've gone 2 weeks without sugar. But then there's a party, you have sugar. The next day, you have sugar again. So you fall back into it and you keep doing that. Well done. I fell back into sleeping late at night. Exactly. Very nice. I fell back into scrolling. I fell back into staying up late. So you would just say, I fell back into staying up late or late at night. Okay. I fell back into the habit of eating crisps during last February. Exactly. Well done. Oh, I fell back into gossiping. Exactly. Negative habits. People, the word gossip is negative. It sounds negative. Well done. Okay. Awesome job, everyone. I love this. How about this? I'm trying to break the cycle of. Now, you can break the cycle of noun or gerund verb. A noun is a something. Procrastination is the noun. It's a something. Procrastinating in the ing form is the verb. It represents the action. So you can break the cycle of a noun or a verb. Now, when you break the cycle, it's just like breaking a bad habit. But if you say it's a cycle, it sounds like it's just a routine that happens again and again. So you have this cycle of procrastinating. So maybe for you, this just think of a cycle as a routine. So the cycle might be something like on Monday, I say I'm not going to procrastinate. On Tuesday, I don't procrastinate. On Thursday, I'm really tired and I procrastinate. All weekend, I procrastinate. Monday, I'm not going to procrastinate. And then the same thing happens again and again and again. So that's what it means by cycle. It just represents that there's a specific pattern that you have and it happens again and again. So that's why it's just using cycle instead of just saying I'm trying to break the habit of. So it's just slightly different. I'm trying to break the cycle of buying unnecessary things. Absolutely. So for Jorge, maybe the cycle is I buy something I don't need. I regret it. I say I'm not going to buy anything new. I see an ad while I'm scrolling late at night. I buy it. I regret it. I'm not going to buy anything new. I see an ad while I'm scrolling late at night. I buy it. And it happens again and again. Okay. So it's a term that native speakers use a lot because if you think about it, often our bad habits, they do have some sort of cycle, and you can recognize specific behaviors or triggers for that bad habit. So that's the cycle. Awesome, everyone. I'm trying to break the cycle of my mood swings. Exactly. I'm trying to break the cycle of eating out. Love this. Everyone's doing such a great job. Well done, everyone. Let's keep going and talk about consistency and perfect timing because one student just mentioned inconsistency. The student said, I'm trying to break the cycle of inconsistency in learning English. So inconsistency represents a lack of a pattern. So this student, maybe they 1 week, they study 4 times per week. But then 2 weeks go by, they don't study at all. The next week, they study once, and then they study 4 times. And then they study once, and then they go 1 month without studying. So there's no pattern. It's just infrequent and random. Consistent is when you have a pattern. All right, let's talk about consistency. How about this? Once I get into a routine, it'll be way easier. So if you're trying to build a habit, you don't have a routine yet. A routine is when you wake up, you put on your gym shoes, you take your yoga mat, and you work out for 30 minutes. So you do that every morning. It's your routine. It's easy once it becomes a routine. Or you can think about learning English. At lunch, every day, you study from 12 to 12:30. It's your routine. It's easy. You don't have to think about when am I going to study? Do I have time? You study every day from 12 to 12:30. It's your routine. So once I get into a routine means you establish a routine. Establish sounds quite formal. Get into a routine sounds like an everyday natural way of saying it. Once I get into a routine, it'll be way easier. And the it represents whatever the action is, whatever your routine is. So you could say, once I get into a routine, learning English will be way easier. And way emphasizes it. It makes it sound a lot. So it will be much easier, a lot easier. So it emphasizes it. Once I get into a routine of watching your videos regularly, it'll be easier to become a proficient speaker. Exactly. Exactly. So you can attend a live class, but you don't attend a video. You can attend a class, you can attend a lesson, you can attend a session, but with the word video, you would just say watch. Watch your videos regularly. Once I get into a routine, I will be a good communicator. Well said. Once I get into a routine, like learning English, I never quit. Very nice. Awesome. Once I get into a routine, exercise will be way easier. Exactly. So exercise, this is a noun form. You can use a noun or you can use a gerund verb. So you can say, once I get into a routine, exercising will be way easier. Both of them are correct. You can use either one, the noun form or the gerund verb form. Let's keep going. How about this one? This is a gerund statement, which means you're starting your sentence with a verb in ing, and you're doing this to make a general statement. So you can say staying consistent is harder than starting. Okay. Being consistent is harder than starting. So, yes, anyone can start an activity. You can go to the gym one time, or you can say, I started a yoga class or I started a new English class. That's easy. It's easy to start, but it's going to that class and doing the work every day or 3 times a week, once a week, whatever the timeline is harder than starting. So staying consistent, you can use either one, stay or be. Remember, it's a gerund verb. Staying means you are already consistent and you need to remain. Being consistent just talks about your current state. So it doesn't talk about anything else. So they generally communicate very similar things. All right. Once I get into a routine, I'll improve my English easier. Yeah, there's no reason for the verb be there. I will improve. Your verb is improve. And in the future simple, we use will plus base verb. Your verb is improve. I will improve my English easier. Very nice. Being consistent to do yoga is harder than starting. So you would say being consistent with yoga or being consistent doing yoga, but you wouldn't say to do yoga. Or you could also say doing yoga consistently. You can use consistently with which is the adverb form. So you could say doing yoga because you do yoga. Excellent job getting the correct verb. Doing yoga consistently is harder than starting. And absolutely that is true. Starting is easy. Staying consistent is the real challenge. Well said. And that is so true. Staying consistent is the goal of my life. Exactly. So you might say, my New Year's resolution is staying consistent. My goal is to stay consistent. This year, I'm going to make staying consistent a priority. I'm building the habit of staying consistent. So those are all the terms that we've already learned in this lesson. And think of how I just used them with different grammatical structures. So you'll need to watch this again and listen to all the different grammatical structures that I used. Being consistent in any activity is hard. Very true. Okay. I fell off track during the holidays. Ooh. Remember, we learned I fell back into eating sweets during the holidays? This is similar. So I fell off track. So we have off track and you have on track. If you're on track, you're doing the activity or you're making progress towards your goal. If you're off track, whatever you're doing is taking you away from your goal. So if your goal is to exercise 3 days per week, but then you wake up in the morning and you're supposed to go to the gym, but you say, oh, I'm a little tired. I think I'll stay in bed and I'll skip the gym. I'll go next time. You're off track because your action is taking you away from your goal. You should think about what I just said. It's very profound because think of all the decisions you make and the actions you take that are off track. They're taking you away from your goal. So if you fell off track, to fall is just the verb that you use to mean you start going in the wrong direction. So I fell off track. You could also use the verb go and you say, I went off track during the holidays. So fall is to talk about on track, off track, and then the transition from on to off. I fell off track during the holidays. So you started doing things that take you away from your goal. Okay. But this student said, I stayed on track during the holidays. I never fell off. That's amazing. Well done. That takes a lot of discipline for sure. Great job. I'm proud of you. Okay. I fell off track about hitting the gym because of sickness. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So sometimes it's not really a conscious decision. Sometimes you want to go to the gym in the morning, but you wake up and you have a fever. You can't go to the gym physically. You just can't. So yes, you fell off track, but there's a legitimate reason why. And I have some expressions for that in this lesson as well. So keep watching. Let's keep going. Yeah, today I fell off track because of my sickness. For sure. For sure. I was determined to enhance my vocabulary. I was learning it consistently, but after some time, I fell off track. Exactly, for sure. Well, hey, as long as you recognize it and you get back on track, okay? That's all you need. That's all you need. So remember, I just said, as long as you get back on track, back on track. Now that the holidays are over, I'm back on track. So you're making decisions and your actions are taking you closer to your goal. That means I'm on track. Back is just used for the transition. You were off track, you're on track. So to go from negative to positive, we use back. I'm back on track. I'm back on track. All right. So that's all that matters. Yes, you're going to fall off track. That's life. That's normal. What's important is that you get back on track as quickly as possible and you learn why you fell off track so you can break the cycle. Break the cycle. Those are keywords that you learned in this lesson. I always fall off track. Always is a keyword for the present simple. So you want fall. I always fall off track when it comes to fast food. That's okay. You have to break the cycle and then get back on track. I'm back on track about my English classes after partying all of these holidays. Well, I'm happy to hear that. But also, I'm glad you had fun during the holidays. Aw, I never ever fall off track watching your videos. Yeah, just remember fall is the verb. So when it was in fell, it was the past simple. But in this case, you would want fall because it's a routine. It's the present simple. I never ever fall off track watching your videos. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay. Oh, I love this. After watching your videos, I am motivated again to learn English. I'm back on track. Exactly. So celebrate that. When you start taking actions towards your goal, you can say, I'm on track or I'm back on track. Remember, back is only used to represent off to on, the transition. I'm on track just talks about your current state. Let's keep going. I love this discussion, everyone. Great job. How about this? I'm getting back into journaling. Maybe you say, I'm getting back into learning English. I'm getting back into improving my vocabulary. I'm getting back into running. I'm getting back into going to the gym. Whatever it is. What does this mean? I'm getting back into. So if you get back into something, it means you start doing the action again. Okay. So the action being journaling. So when you have the action, it's in the ing form. Running, learning English, but you could also use a noun. I'm getting back into my English studies, my studies. That would be the noun form. Studying English, learning English, that would be the verb form. I'm getting back into playing guitar. Absolutely. So remember, everyone, this means that Jorge used to play guitar, but then he stopped for whatever reason. And now he's starting again. So he's getting back into playing guitar. So he wants to make playing guitar a habit again. So we only use back into when you previously had this as a habit. Okay. So I'm getting back into exercising. This means you had exercise as a habit, but then something happened, an illness, maybe a job change, relocation, new baby, whatever, something happened and you stopped the habit, but now you're starting the habit again. So we only use this if it was a previous habit. If you're starting a habit for the first time, you can't use this. I'm getting back into learning co-locations. Well, that's a great thing to do because they're very important. And you learned many in this lesson already. I'm getting back into, not going, I'm getting back into swimming. I'm getting back into exercising after a long time off. Exactly. Exactly. Very nice. Getting back into normal life after holidays. Exactly. I love this. Well done. I'm getting back into sleeping at a regular time. Exactly. Well done. Because you want to make sleep a priority, or you want to break the cycle of mindlessly scrolling late at night, which prevents you from sleeping fully. Well done. I'm getting back into riding horses. I love this. Wow. I love this, everyone. Let's keep going. I asked a friend to hold me accountable for my goals. What does this mean? I asked a friend to hold me accountable for my goals. What does this mean? Think about this one, because this is a great strategy to have, to ask someone to hold you accountable for something. Oh, oops. I'm getting back into reading books. Exactly. I love that. Yeah, to monitor. This is a great way of summarizing it. Your friend is going to monitor your actions to see if you're moving closer to your goal or further away from your goal. And if you're moving further away from your goal, your friend is going to call you out, which means your friend is going to say, hey, you said you were going to go to the gym 3 times per week, but you haven't gone once this week. Or you're at a cafe with your friend and you order a chocolate chip cookie and your friend calls you out. Your friend says, hey, I thought you were cutting out sugar. Don't order that. That's your friend holding you accountable for your goals. It's a big responsibility, though, for your friend. So you have to make sure you have a good relationship with that person. And maybe you do the same for your friend. You hold each other accountable for your goals. That can be a really smart strategy. Well, supporting, but you have to be willing to tell your friend you're not making the right decision, which isn't easy to do. Because if you see your friend going to eat that cookie, you have to take that cookie out of your friend's hand and throw it in the garbage, which isn't an easy thing to do for someone else. So, tough love, maybe. Supporting and also be willing to give tough love, as we say. Okay. I asked my parents to hold me accountable for my duties. For sure. Absolutely. That's a great friend. Exactly. It's not everyone that would be willing or comfortable doing that. But about cutting out sugar, he would be mad at me all of the time. Exactly. Exactly. Honestly, I probably would not do that for a friend because I don't want that level of responsibility, but I would do that for my husband and I would want my husband to do that for me. So you have to just be very careful about who you ask to hold you accountable. All right. How about this? Mindset. All right. I asked my tutor to hold me accountable for speaking only English in class. Exactly. So if you're speaking with your tutor and then even for a couple words, you switch to your native language, your tutor would put you on mute or just say, nope, stop, English only. Now, if your tutor lets you keep talking in your native language, your tutor is not holding you accountable. And that's a difficult thing for someone to do, even for a tutor. So it's a big responsibility for someone else. All right, let's talk about mindset. Because, of course, when you're talking about goals, habits, routines, you're always going to fall off track. That's just normal. So you need the mindset to go with it. How about this? I asked my girlfriend to hold me accountable for cutting down on sweets. Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Journals hold me accountable for that day's duty. Exactly. You can hold yourself accountable. For example, you might have a piece of paper and you have all the tasks that you were supposed to do that day. Learn English 30 minutes, exercise 20 minutes, meditate 10 minutes. And at the end of the day, you have to hold yourself accountable by putting a check or putting an X. And if you put an X, maybe you have to provide the reason why you didn't do the activity. And what changes you're going to make so you do the activity the next day. So that's a way that you can hold yourself accountable. Well done. Well done. All right. It's normal to miss a day. Give yourself grace and keep going. So you probably have some goal of not eating sugar, cutting back on sweets, cutting out sweets, going to the gym 3 times a week, 5 times a week, meditating once per day, whatever it is, learning English for 30 minutes every day. But then you had a really long day and you're really tired and you don't meditate. You don't go to the gym. You eat a cookie at the end of your hard day. It's normal. It's normal to miss a day. Maybe you say this to yourself, or maybe you say this to someone else. Give yourself grace and keep going. This is a very common expression. Give yourself grace. This means be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself, be caring to yourself, be sympathetic to yourself. So just don't be so hard on yourself is another way. Being kind to yourself is an easy translation. So that would be give yourself grace. But notice one student said they're making co-locations a priority. Well, be kind to yourself. Be kind. Give yourself grace. Give is the collocation. So just remember this as an expression. Give yourself grace. I'm giving myself grace. I'm being kind to myself. I'm not going to call myself lazy because I missed one day at the gym. Okay. I'm going to be kind to myself. Give yourself grace and keep going. All right. So that's a great one to have because it's normal to miss a day. It's normal to fall off track. How about this? You're doing a great job. Don't be so hard on yourself. So this is a very common expression. Hopefully you've heard this before. Don't be so hard on yourself. Instead of hard, you might say don't be so tough on yourself. So hard on yourself is if I say, I shouldn't have had that cookie at the party. Oh, why do I always do this? I don't have any discipline. Oh man. And you're very negative because you had a cookie. So your friend could say to you, don't be so hard on yourself. You're doing a great job. Yes, you had one cookie, but you haven't had a cookie in 3 months. Don't be so hard on yourself. Okay, so that's a good one as well. Remember this for yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. I say this to my students all the time when they get so upset because they make a mistake or they don't sound exactly like a native speaker. Don't be so hard on yourself. It's okay to make a mistake. Just give yourself grace to move forward. Exactly. Well said. Be kind to yourself. Exactly. Exactly. It's easy to say this to other people, but you also have to say it to yourself and truly mean it. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself grace. Don't be so hard on yourself. Very important. I'm proud that I only had sweets twice this week. So instead of focusing on the negative, oh, I had sweets twice this week. I have no discipline. Oh, I'm the worst. You can be proud that you only had sweets twice this week when usually you have sweets 10 times per week. So you reduced it by 80%. I'm proud. That is optional. You can absolutely just say, I'm proud. I only had sweets twice this week. So notice to be proud, I'm proud, she's proud, we are, we're proud, they're proud. And then you need a full clause. I only had sweets twice this week. A clause is a complete sentence. So if you remove I'm proud, you have a full sentence. I only had sweets twice this week. That's a grammatically correct sentence. So I'm proud. What's something you're proud of? Put it in the comments because you need to celebrate your success as well. Now, you can also use this sentence structure. I'm proud of myself for saying no to dessert at the company party. So someone offered you a piece of cake at a company party. Maybe it was a birthday party, a Christmas party, an anniversary of the company, 5 years in business. And someone says, oh, here's a piece of cake. And you say, no, thank you. I'm proud of myself for saying no to dessert at the company party. I'm proud of myself for is a preposition. You need your gerund verb. I'm proud of myself for saying no. I'm proud of myself for eating healthy at the company party. Okay. Be proud of yourself. Exactly. Give yourself some slack. I like that. I like that. Slack means a break. Very nice. I'm proud of myself. I only had sweets once this week. I love that. Very nice. Don't be so hard on yourself. You're improving well. Be proud of yourself. I am proud of you for everything you do. Exactly. I'm proud of that purple crown all over my name. Absolutely. I love that. I'm proud of myself for learning English with you. Absolutely. If you show up every week to watch the lessons, do the homework, do the exercises, you should be proud of yourself. Very nice. Very nice. I'm proud of myself for learning English for a few years passionately. Absolutely. I'm proud of myself for respecting elders. I love that. Very nice. I love that. Amazing. And that's it, everyone. I wanted to end on a positive note, expressing why you're proud, being proud, reminding you to give yourself grace. Be proud of yourself as well. And remember, you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can look for the link in the description or go to my website to download this, enter your name and email, and this will be emailed directly to you. And also, if you are committed to making 2026 your best year for becoming fluent, for taking your English to that next level, you can join me and your fellow students in the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program to give you the training, the guidance, and the support that you need for reaching your goals. All right, everyone. I love all these comments. And absolutely make sure you like this lesson if you enjoyed it. So you support the channel. It's a very easy way for you to support the channel. Like this lesson, subscribe so you're notified every time I go live, every time I post a new lesson, and put yes, yes, yes in the comments if you enjoyed this lesson as well. I'm proud to have found your channel. Oh, thank you. That means the world to me. I appreciate that. Woohoo. Amazing. I'm so happy. You're very welcome. All right, everyone. Awesome. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Woohoo. Awesome, everyone. You put me on track to learn English. I'm so glad. Awesome. I'm so glad, everyone. Well, watch this lesson again because we learned a lot. There was a lot of advanced sentence structure if you listen to the natural examples I gave as well. So watch this lesson again, repeat the exercises, practice all the keywords, all the vocabulary as well. I go live every Tuesday. So this same time every week, but we're ending now. It started 1 hour ago. I don't know what the time is in your local time zone. But this day, every week, we start 1 hour earlier from now. All right, everyone, have a wonderful, wonderful week. And I will see all of you in my next lesson. Bye.